Have you ever heard of the Untouchables in India, now called the Dalits? Well, today we're going to look at the Untouchables / the Dalits.
At the bottom of the Hindu caste system, Dalits in India, also known as India's, quote, black untouchables, are more powerless than the historically oppressed population of African Americans, according to prominent Indian activists. Activists in India said that unlike black people in the United States, Dalits are more powerless and are still fighting for social justice. Dalit is a term that is used for those who were formerly known as, quote, untouchables, end quote. At the lowest rung of the Hindu caste system, Dalits are still subjected to untouchability. According to a recent Indian census, Dalits number 200 million, making up around 16.6% of the country's total 1.3 billion population. Stating that the condition of Dalits in India continues to be very poor, Raj said there are very few chances that their lot will improve. Quote, "It will be difficult to end the problems of the Dalits, as it is related to the Hindu caste system," end quote. He said, adding that Dalits in India are more powerless than African Americans. Dalits find it difficult to get jobs due to privatization, he said, adding the government needs to implement schemes to better the Dalits' condition. In regard to the social-cultural problem, Vontibetu Timamapa Rajeshekar Shetty, another top Dalit voice, echoed Raj's views that the condition of the Dalit community in India continues to worsen. Quote, "The problem of untouchables is not political and economic, but social and cultural. There has been no positive progress on this issue. Though laws exist to protect Dalits, atrocities against the marginalized community have not decreased." Shetty decried the lack of discussions in the political class on Dalits in India. Quote, "The upper caste people are the rulers, and they don't want to see any change. Dalits in the villages are ridiculed and maligned," end quote, he said. The caste system in India divides Hindus into four main types. Please forgive the pronunciation in advance. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Outside this are Dalits, or the Untouchables. Topping the hierarchy, the Brahmins were mainly teachers and intellectuals, followed by the Kshatriyas, or warriors and rulers, then the Vaishyas, or traders, and at the bottom were the Shudras, who did menial jobs, but the Dalits are even lower than that.
Which brings us to another class of people known as the Siddiq. The Siddiq are considered one of the most marginalized communities and are largely settled in villages and smaller settlements. While the caste principles of hierarchy is non-existent among the Siddiq themselves, they are treated as on par with the Dalits, although there is no official practice of untouchability. And who are the Siddiq, you ask? The Siddiqs are African Indians of African ancestry, which dates back to the 13th century. Centuries ago, Africans from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia sailed to the Indian subcontinent as merchants, while others were bought as slaves. They were an elite group of enslaved Africans, serving only the ruling class. Because of their military skills and loyalty, they were favored by Indians' Nawabs, or Muslim rulers. A little known fact around the world is that the Siddiq rose to a position of power, serving as kings themselves over princely city-states. Ambassador Saeed Akbaratan, India's representative to the United Nations, says the cities form an important part of India's history. He says, with their small numbers, look what they accomplished for themselves and the Indian society. They rose to be noblemen, they rose to be commanders, soldiers, admirals. Even with the racism of the caste system, they were still able to make these accomplishments. That's right, folks. The Siddiqs come from Africa, and Africa and India is very close in proximity. As a matter of fact, parts of India is known as Ethiopia as well. So many of the peoples from Ethiopia migrated to India. And if you look at the similarities of the people, they have very similar features. And historically, there are two Ethiopians, one to the east of the Red Sea and the other to the west. And a very great nation of blacks from India did rule over almost all Asia in a very remote area. It seems certain that classical historians and geographers call the whole region from Egypt to India, both countries inclusive, by the name of Ethiopia. The well-respected historian Herodotus wrote in his celebrated history that both the Western Ethiopians who lived in Africa and the Eastern Ethiopians who dwelled in India were black in complexion, but that the Africans had curly hair while the Indians were straight-haired. The aboriginal black inhabitants of India were of African descent. African Indians have enriched the subcontinent in many ways. Spectacular buildings, some now ruined and some intact, were built by African Indians. One of the most famous is the Siddiq Mosque in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. African contributions to Indian music range from the distinctive music performed for the Damal dance in honor of Baba Gore to African Americans who introduced jazz to India. So you see, folks, our people were spread throughout the whole world. And Africans were the first people on the earth, as we know, and even in India, even though the caste system has them at the very bottom. I believe the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. So you better be very careful how you treat those people. Our people, God's people. For you see, the Seti, they are a group of mainly Bantu people who have made India their home for the past 400 years. That's right, folks, 400 years. Does that sound familiar? Our research shows that about 58% of the Seti people, their ancestry is derived from the Bantu people. The remainder is associated with locals, North and Northwest Indian populations due to recent admixtures. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the Bantu people. Well, the Bantu people are the descendants of the ancient Israelites. The Bible calls them the children of my God's dispersed people. This is a fact which a lot of historians have been hiding for ages. Now, we know a lot of people don't believe in the Bible and they have many different beliefs. And guess what? That's fine. That's dandy. But this is what we believe based on our research. You have the right to believe whatever you want to believe. And we don't tell you what to believe. You believe whatever you want to believe. And we do welcome all comments, but we do say, please do your research before you come on and make comments, because a lot of the comments that people make is very easily proven wrong. So please do your research. So you see, folks, our people are all over. And yes, black people come from everywhere. Make no mistake about it. We come from everywhere. The Black Excellence and Abundance channel, where black history is every day. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember, thou art rich.